Picture this. You wake up at 5 o'clock a.m. You chug down a bitter green juice that tastes like liquid lawn grass. You run 10 kilometers, study 3 hours of English, read 50 pages of a dense psychology book, and write down a list of 50 new goals. By 9 o'clock a.m., you are not a new you. You are just completely, utterly, biologically dead. Does this sound familiar to any of you? This is the classic, tragic day one scenario when we decide to completely transform ourselves. We rush into change like a sudden hurricane, only to find ourselves 3 days later lying flat in bed, doom-scrolling through social media until 2 o'clock a.m., deeply depressed and wondering why we lack willpower so much. But here is the brutal truth no one on social media wants to admit. The problem isn't your lack of willpower. The problem is that you are trying to move a mountain before you've learned how to carry a single pebble. Today, we are going to look into the cognitive science of why big goals are silently killing your progress and how a tiny, almost invisible change can rewrite your future. The introduction. Welcome back to our growth space. If you've ever bought an online English course just to ease your guilt, only to leave it gathering digital dust, you are not alone. In psychology, this is a coping mechanism. We buy the promise of a new identity to temporarily satisfy our anxiety, but we refuse to pay the daily transaction fee of actually showing up. So many of us buy self-help books or sign up for English courses simply to ease our immediate guilt. It is a classic case of chasing instant gratification. We essentially buy the temporary feeling of making progress, but we are deeply terrified of actually putting in the boring, unsexy effort every single day. By the end of this video, you will understand the precise neurological mechanisms behind your habits. You will walk away with a scientific blueprint to build consistency without ever needing to force yourself with toxic self-discipline. The body. Set up tension, pay off loops. Loop 1. The mathematics of the 1%. Let's start with a mathematical reality that will completely flip your perspective on progress. In his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear introduces a concept known as the compound interest of self-improvement. Let's look at the math. V of t equals V0 multiplied by 1 plus or minus r raised to the power of t. If V0 equals 1, your current capacity, r equals 0.01, your daily 1% improvement, and t equals 365 days. 1.01 raised to the power of 365 is approximately equal to 37.78. You did not hear that wrong. If you get just 1% better each day, by the end of the year, you will be nearly 38 times better than the version of you today. But here is the dark side of this equation. What happens if you get just 1% worse every day? If you let your habits slide, skip your practice, and choose the easy way out day after day, you decline almost down to absolute zero. This is the scary part. On any given day, a 1% change feels completely insignificant. Eating one fast food meal instead of a salad today won't make you obese tomorrow. Skipping 10 minutes of English practice tonight won't make you fail your exam next week. Because the immediate consequences are invisible, we convince ourselves that our small, bad decisions don't matter. But over months and years, these tiny errors compound into a life of quiet frustration. It is exactly like telling yourself, just 5 more minutes of scrolling on social media won't hurt. Those 5 minutes, repeated every day, silently compound into hundreds of wasted hours after a year. Bad habits don't destroy your life overnight. They erode your potential silently, comfortably, like a velvet cushion. Loop 2. The stressed corporate manager versus the autopilot robot. To understand why we default to bad habits, we must take a trip inside our own skull. Your brain is constantly locked in a silent civil war between two major regions, the prefrontal cortex and the basal ganglia. The prefrontal cortex is your brain's highly conscious, rational manager. It handles decision-making, planning, and willpower. Every time you sit down to solve a complex math problem or try to construct a grammatically perfect English sentence, this manager is working overtime. But here's the catch. This manager is extremely fragile and energy expensive. It runs out of fuel very quickly, a psychological phenomenon we call decision fatigue. Think of your prefrontal cortex as an office manager. This manager is brilliant at planning, but gets exhausted incredibly fast. When you come home after an 8-hour, high-stress workday, this manager is completely drained. They simply do not have the energy left to tell you, "Go study English!" When the manager collapses from exhaustion, who takes over? Enter the basal ganglia. This is your brain's autopilot robot. It is a repetitive machine that loves patterns. It doesn't care if a habit is good or bad for your long-term future. It only cares about saving energy. When you get home stressed and immediately open your phone to scroll social media, that is your basal ganglia running on autopilot. It recognizes the cue, feeling tired, executes the routine, opening the app, and receives the reward, a dopamine hit. If you try to build a massive new habit using only willpower, you are forcing your exhausted manager to fight a highly efficient, automated robot. You will lose, every single time. The secret to lasting change is not to fight the robot, but to slowly program new, tiny routines into its system so it works for you, not against you. Loop 3. The parable of the bamboo and the latent potential. But why do we quit our small steps so early? Why do we stop exercising after a week or give up on a language after a month? It is because we expect progress to be a clean, beautiful, linear line. We expect that if we put in 10 units of effort today, we should see 10 units of results tomorrow. But in the real world, progress is heavily delayed. James Clear calls this depressing gap the plateau of latent potential. In Eastern philosophy, we have a beautiful metaphor that perfectly aligns with this scientific reality: the parable of the bamboo. Most of us fail because we want that massive 80-foot bamboo tree on day one. It's like trying to melt a block of ice in your freezer. If you heat it from -5 degrees Celsius to -1 degree Celsius, absolutely nothing changes. The ice block is still cold, hard, and completely solid. You sweat, you pump in energy, you do everything right, but there's not a single drop of water. So you get frustrated, scream, "This is totally useless," and just give up. But here's the secret: your effort was never wasted. It was just stored. All the magic, all the melting, happens at exactly 0 degrees Celsius. The moment you cross that tiny threshold, the breakthrough happens, the ice liquefies, and the world looks at you and calls you an overnight success, completely ignoring the quiet, freezing degrees you had to climb first. One of the biggest pain points for our generation today is intense peer pressure. Seeing everyone else flexing their high-paying corporate jobs, new cars, or fancy apartments on social media makes us panic and try to skip the crucial building phases. But remember, just because you don't see immediate results does not mean you are failing. You might just be like that bamboo tree, quietly burying your roots deeper and stronger into the ground to prepare for an incredible breakthrough. Loop 4. Willpower is a scam. Design environmental friction instead. Stop relying on willpower. Seriously, just stop. Willpower is like a smartphone battery. It drains throughout the day, and by 9 p.m., you are at 1% power. If your environment is poorly designed, you will fail. The secret to effortless habits is environmental friction. If you want to build a good habit, you must make it obvious and easy. If you want to break a bad habit, you must make it invisible and difficult. Stop trying to use sheer willpower to resist junk food when it is sitting right on your kitchen counter. Instead, increase the environmental friction. Want to stop eating junk food? Don't buy cheat snacks at the store in the first place. Want to scroll less before bed? Leave your phone in the living room and place a physical book directly on your pillow. Think about it. If you want to study English before sleep, but your book is hidden inside a backpack, and your phone is right next to your pillow, which one will you choose? The phone takes 0 friction. The book takes 5 extra steps. Your lazy brain will always choose the path of least resistance. Another life-saving tool is habit stacking. You don't need to create a habit out of thin air. You attach it to an existing automatic pathway in your brain. The formula is simple. After, I will. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will write down 3 priorities for my day. After I brush my teeth at night, I will read just 1 page of a book. After I open my laptop, I will complete just 1 5-minute English pronunciation exercise. Your brain already has a massive highway built for your morning coffee. You are simply building a tiny, effortless exit ramp on that highway. Loop 5. The never miss twice rule. Let's be honest with each other. You are human. You are going to fail. You are going to have a terrible, stressful day where you skip your workout, eat a whole pizza, and completely ignore your study routine. And that is perfectly okay. 1 missed habit is an accident, but 2 missed habits in a row is the beginning of a new, destructive pattern. This is where the never miss twice rule comes in. Many of us struggle with a psychological trap, saving face, and an extreme all-or-nothing mentality. The moment we skip a single gym session or miss 1 day of language practice, we immediately think, well, my streak is broken, I might as well throw away the entire week. This is the most dangerous cognitive trap you can fall into. Missing 1 day does not destroy your progress. It is the second miss that defines whether you are experiencing a temporary slip-up or a permanent slide. If you miss today, treat tomorrow as the most important day of your year. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do a perfect 1-hour workout. Just show up for 5 minutes. If you don't have time to study English for an hour, just read 3 vocabulary flashcards. Just show up. By doing a bad workout or a lazy study session, you are still maintaining the identity of being a healthy person or a language learner. You are keeping the neurological pathway alive. Summary. Let's recap the 3 key steps you need to take today to activate the power of small steps. Stop setting grand, exhausting goals. Focus on systems instead of endpoints. Design your environment. Put the book on your pillow, hide your phone, and make bad habits difficult to reach. Apply the never miss twice rule. Forgive yourself for slipping up, but fiercely protect your second day. Remember, the smallest steps are often the most courageous ones. You do not need to rebuild your entire life overnight. You just need to be 1% better than you were yesterday. Thank you for showing up today. Keep taking those tiny steps, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!